Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Nintendo Fuse's Industry Talk. I'm your host, Barry, and today I'm joined by my very special guest, Chris from Causal Games.
Hey, how you doing?
Now, for those of you that have seen our other stuff, you probably have been like, wait a second, we don't see you, and that's because you won't. We are actually doing an audio-only episode today. Chris, thank you again for joining. Now, can you just tell everybody just a little bit about yourself and how you kind of did what you do, how you got into game design and stuff like that?
Let's see. We can go back. I might have been, I don't know, around 10 years old. I think the game, I used to play in television and stuff like that. And as a kid, and I always wanted to make video games. I used to draw graphics on graph paper and stuff like that. But I think the game that really got me into wanting to do programming and everything was Ghosts and Goblins. I played it at an airport when I was a kid, and I'm like, this is the best game I've ever played. And then, of course, I think I had a Commodore 64 at that point, but I didn't really know what to do with it. I played games on it sometimes. I didn't know how to program it, and I had a teacher come in, and I think it was my grade 6, grade 7 teacher, and he started teaching me programming after school. And then I didn't have the computer yet. He sent me home with his computer. He had a portable Commodore 64 with a little monitor in it. So I'd take it home and program like all night long and learn how to do all that stuff on my own. It was fantastic. Yeah. So I got into that, got more into the graphic side and music side of things as I got older, and then around in my 20s, I ended up going into graphic design and just dropped games for a while. So I think I was doing graphic design for almost 10 years. And then I just kind of fell back into doing game design or just making games for fun as a hobby. I'm trying to remember how it went. Oh, Black Tiger. I was playing Black Tiger on an emulator, and I wanted to make it for the Sega Genesis. So I figured I'd dust off my programming skills and see if I could program the Sega Genesis. So I kind of failed at that because I didn't know what I was doing. It had been so long since I programmed something. And I got the character walking on the screen and shooting and stuff, but I didn't know how to do tile map collisions properly yet on the Genesis. So it was just a mess. But then I went from there and started redoing the game on the PC. And that's actually where I met my buddy Davin, who I established Causal Games with later on. I think he was helping me work on enemy AI in the program we were using. It was called Construct. So it's basically a visual game design program. And that, which is good for me because less programming, whatever. It's just you have to know how the logic works and the event system works and everything like that. And a bit of programming, not much. So he helped me with the enemy AI. But I was still doing graphic design at that point. I think I was doing Maxim for Maxim Canada. I had to do an issue of a magazine. I just kind of dropped it again for a little while. And once my graphic design stuff just felt like it was getting old, coming to an end, I started making a game for my daughter just for fun. That turned into, what is it? I did like this pseudo 3D engine that looked like Space Harrier, and I had the original game was like her on my back. It's like just a platformer. It looked like Ghosts and Goblins. She was like a baby that shot burp bubbles out of her mouth to fight the enemies. So we went from that, and I added this pseudo 3D engine where I could fly, and I had her on my back. So from that, I ended up getting contacted by like a marketing slash, I don't know if it's a marketing company, more like they do ads, but they do games and stuff as well for people, but it's all outsourced. They outsource everything. So they contacted me about that engine, the pseudo 3D thing, and they're like, could you make a game using that engine for us that will run on a web page? I guess nobody had done that yet. So that, like, if you've ever been to the Battle Princess Madelyn Kickstarter, there's images of a game that looks exactly like Space Harrier. I didn't do the graphics for it. I only wrote the program for it. And that's kind of how I got back into it. And they hired me again for another game after that. And I realized I was having way too much fun making other people's games, and I started working on another game for Maddie. That Davin came back into the picture, helping me with that game. I think it was the crab boss, the way the arms worked. And then we were talking one day, and Insanity's Blade, it's a comic. It's a story I think I wrote in high school or something. Made a comic out of it when I was like in my early 20s, and I didn't want to kill it. So I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if I made a Nintendo game based on this comic book? So I did the sprite as a joke, and then people liked it, and as they posted it, why don't you make a game? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll do a little demo or something. The little demo turned into 3 levels, and people just kept wanting to see more and more. And then eventually we're like, maybe we should just like do a Kickstarter or something. So we did a Kickstarter. Ended up making a co-op game. That wrecked it. It should have stayed single player. That was just a giant mistake. We should have just made it the game it was supposed to be and left it alone. We did the Kickstarter, so I think we got like $7,000-ish. Of course, Kickstarter took their chunk. We had to pay people, so there's no money left. I had no idea what I was doing with money making a game at that point. I'm like, I don't know what I need. I just do stuff myself. So anyway, game finished, came out on Steam, did pretty good, shockingly. And we decided, well, in the middle of doing that game, we decided we'll form a company. Originally, I was calling myself NDev or something like that, InDev, I can't remember. I had a different logo, and that's where we went from there. That's the start of the company. After that, I think I started a job at a local game studio here, and Maddie wanted to play, or she made me play Ghouls and Ghosts all the time, and that's where Battle Princess Madelyn came from. She always wanted me to fight the first boss in my super graphics Ghouls and Ghosts. I think it's called Shielder. Is like a big green guy and his head's on his hand and he blows fireballs at you. So she didn't really care for the rest of the game, just that boss fight. And eventually she wanted to be Arthur. She wanted to be in the game. So that's where that started. So we decided, well, I think me and Maddie worked on a prototype for a year before it even, and it was even maybe a year later before it became a Kickstarter. I can't really remember how that worked. Yeah, it sounds about right. There was no plans of a Kickstarter or anything for like almost a year after the prototype was finished. So, yeah, long
Well,
road.
that's definitely a long road. I'll say this. I'm very, in a way, I'm very thankful that it did go to Kickstarter, and the reason for that is because that's how I actually discovered you. Is I was, as a collector myself, I'm always looking for new games, and I love indie titles, and I love smaller develops. And I came across your Kickstarter, and I usually don't back Kickstarters unless as a physical collector. I just don't usually like to do digital. And I'm very thankful that your Kickstarter had a physical. But when I watched the video, and I do encourage anyone listening to check out the Kickstarter for Battle Princess Madelyn and to definitely watch the video describing it. Because when I watched that video, I instantly fell in love. I'm like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm doing my civic duty by backing this at this point. And when my wife got home, I actually showed her the video, and she said to me, she's like, you know what, did you back that already? I said, yeah. She's like, well, good, because if you didn't, I was gonna back that, because just the powerful message you're teaching your daughter, which is so wonderful, and it's true, anybody can be the hero, man or female, it doesn't matter. It's about what's in your heart. It's about your desires, and it's just awesome that you instilled that onto your daughter. Now the game you did do Kickstarter. How did it go? I mean, obviously we successfully funded, but like, how was the overall experience?
It was okay. I mean, it had its ups, it had its downs. Like I had a lot of fun making the game, but the problem with the Kickstarter is once everybody sees the money that they think you have, they think they need a big chunk of that. And there's a lot of instances where people took the money and ran, and that was really disappointing. And it's not even that they ran; they just kind of like did their bare minimum and got the heck out of there, kind of thing. Or there's other things that I can't really touch on, but I mean, it should have went a lot smoother than it did. There was a lot of not so great stuff with a few backers. There's still something going on like I've given a few people their money back, and one of them still constantly harasses the company. It originally started because they harassed my PR company, and I said, "Look, this game is being made because my daughter was bullied, and here are people emailing me, texting me, and they're bullying me to do what they want to do." And it was just horribly pathetic at that point. Like that was like an absolute like bottom of the barrel kind of experience I was expecting. Like I wasn't expecting. Like I didn't think people were actually that bad. So there's a not a lot, but like a few instances of that. Um, I mean, aside of the one guy still, the rest of them stopped. I'm like, here's your money back. Just go away. This is why I didn't want to do a Kickstarter. This is supposed to be about my daughter, and a lot of people were making it about themselves, and it was just it just sucked. So for that reason, I'll always regret doing it. Like I really didn't want to put my daughter in the spotlight at all. Like the game is for her. It's her thing, and I didn't want it to become a marketing tool. And I never like it. It took a lot of convincing to get me to even put her in a Kickstarter video, uh, even talk about the story about why the game was being made. I just wanted to do it and let her experience making the game.
Well, I'm glad you did put the story in the video. I think that resonated with a lot of fans, and it sucks that there's a few bad apples out there, and I'm sorry that that happened. Unfortunately, that's what happens when you deal with the public. But overall, I hope it was more positive than negative, at least. And from everybody I talked with, they loved the story. In fact, I've actually told a lot of my friends about the game after, like, "Oh, what are you playing right now?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing Battle Princess Madelyn." I haven't heard of that. And I told them the story, and they're like, "That sounds so cool." And I didn't tell the story of the game. I told the story that you told about how you wanted to let your daughter in the game. And I think that sells it so much more. Not that saying the story is bad in the game at all, because it's not. But like, it's something that I think people can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Madeline, obviously she was in the video and super adorable. And
I think
how did what?
teeth at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it was super adorable. How did she feel about being in the Kickstarter? How did she feel about the final product and the whole process of the whole thing? Because it was a game for her. How did she feel?
Uh, she would ask when it was going to be done a lot. She likes it. She doesn't. I don't think I've ever actually seen her play more than the first level. She's very Minecraft right now. Uh, she just liked drawing everything and helping me draw. I think that was the most important thing. And there's a lot of daddy time going on during that stuff, and we had a lot of fun doing that. I've asked her how she feels about it before, and she basically just says it's cool. It's like it's not a big deal to her. She doesn't understand really. Like she might now. She's 8, but I mean, at that point, she didn't really understand what she was doing. She's just having fun with daddy working on a game, and that's it. And she doesn't, and the sad part, she doesn't even remember the story anymore. She must have been around 4 years old when the whole thing about making the game came up. And I was sitting there, and she asked to be in it, like she wanted to be Arthur or whatever, and she wanted the pink armor. She doesn't remember it anymore, which is sad. I'm like, you don't
Oh.
remember that? No. That was so cute. I'll never forget it. It's like totally captured in my mind. I can still see like sitting at my desk, and she's just sitting on the edge of my bed, and I've got like my big L-shaped table in my bedroom. I've got the TV and the super graphics in one corner, and my laptop to work on in the other corner, or side, I should say. And I just remember her making me play the game. I want to see Greenhead again, she called him. And yeah, it was a moment for me, apparently not a moment for her.
Well, I think at that age, we don't really think of things as big deals. It's just another day of our lives.
Yeah,
It's not a
but
milestone.
that's to her, it's just another day because that's what daddy does. And I never like she doesn't understand that other people like they don't get a video game. They don't get dolls made of them and records and like that whole thing. Like I don't know if that's ever really sunk in with her that she's got all this. So it's kind of funny. And it's good though, because she doesn't brag or anything, which is amazing. Because I mean, if I was a kid and my dad made it, yeah, I got my own video game. Well, see it, but yeah, she takes it so well. I'm like, I told her, don't talk about it much in school, or at all if you can help it. Don't brag about it ever. And she doesn't. But other people, like parents, will be like, "Is Maddie the one that's in the game?" I'm like, "Yes," and kind of try to back away from the conversation before things like, "Can you put my kid in the game?" happens, which does happen. I don't even know you.
I
Just
can
a
see
few
that.
weird things like that happen. So, but yeah, it's been. She had a lot of fun. Like when we were doing the prototype before anybody else was really involved in it. That was about a year. Like I was still working at another game studio here where we live now in Nova Scotia, and I think that stuff happened around Christmas time. I think because I just got in the game. We used to play it on the Genesis, then I got it on the Super Graphics, and it looked like a million times better. So we played that one a lot. So it's probably December, January, I think, when I started on the prototype. And I did the first level for the first few months, and then Fritzy comes into it because she was 4. Fritzy is my parents' dog at that point. He would have been 17 years old. So he's like this shriveled little gray thing that walks around. He was fine until like 2 years before that, but he's like super old for a dog. He's all, she loved him. He stunk, whatever. But I have like lots of pictures of her and him. She loved walking him, and like it was basically her first pet. And at this point, uh, we put him into the game because we knew the end was very near, and she was really upset about it because you could just tell he could barely walk anymore. His face was getting all weird and sunken, and his fur was weird and just kind of looked like he might be a zombie. It was weird, gross, but still a cute dog. I've got pictures I can give you guys if you want to see it. Um, she wanted to be a veterinarian at this point. She's 4. So she used to talk about helping animals all the time. I think Lena used to, like my wife Lena, she used to let her watch Hope for Wildlife and stuff like that. So she's a big fan of helping animals. She still is. So one night I overheard a conversation. My wife actually had recorded it because she just sit and talk to her some nights and just record it so she could remember what Maddie sounds like when she was like a little kid with her speech impediment and everything. And she started talking about saving Fritzy and making like this magical blue pill. And it was just incredible. Tearjerker. I won't get into it because it's hard to talk about, but
Oh.
long story short, it was like she wanted to make a pill so he could live forever. So maybe I'll put him into the game with her so she can have him. So
Yeah, that
that's
was a tearjerker too, and I started playing and I heard that. I'm like, oh, it's so sweet.
yeah. So that's the reason for Fritzy's in the game. Originally, it was just Maddie, and I had her grandfather at the start of the game
Yeah,
too. I think there's. I'll give you guys the link to the prototype video. That should still be up on YouTube, I think. So
yeah, the grandfather too, and at the beginning of the game, I was like, oh, that's so sad because it's like I knew it's kind of like art imitating life in a sense. Let's let's how about this? Obviously, your first game in Insanity's Blade, it's on Steam. It's on Steam now. Um, this game, Battle Princess Madelyn, is on all platforms. So
Mhm.
what was it like dealing with, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, stuff like that? And do you think maybe Insanity's Blade can hop on over as well?
Uh, I would rather remake Insanity's Blade the way I wanted it originally rather than just port it over because the co-op is just a disaster. It wasn't supposed to be in the game. The game wasn't designed to have co-op, and when it was added in, it just broke the whole game. Like I probably spent I don't know how long. I had to redo almost all of the levels. Like at first, the game was in 8-bit graphics, like Nintendo. I used a Nintendo palette. I was following all the restrictions of the Nintendo. And then I'm like, I wonder what it would be like if I made it 16-bit graphics and add all the color to it. And everybody liked it. And I'm like, okay, I've got to redo the tile sets. Not a big deal. It's just adding color to a bunch of graphics. So it wasn't hard. But when it came to all the levels I had already done, I think I had 7 or 8 of the levels finished. And co-op goes in, and I'm like, you can't. There's just too many climbing parts that are really long where the player can fall, and it screws up the other player when they fall off the screen a lot. It's all fixed now, I think, but originally it was just a complete disaster. It just broke the game every time you fell. So I redesigned a lot of the levels on the fly. So they were shorter and the climbing parts were shorter. Like it was supposed to play like Batman on the Nintendo, and then it just got cut down so bad that it just became like a flat out action game. Like there was way more platforming in the original levels, and it's all gone. So Insanity's Blade needs a remake the way I intended it to be. Supposed to be like Kadash and Batman. That was what it was supposed to be. And it just ended up being Magic Sword with big levels, basically. So
Well,
yeah.
you think maybe we'll see a remake soon?
Yeah, get around to it one day. I'm in no hurry to do it yet. Let's see. As far as working with the major companies, they're pretty good. I mean, staff is staff. You have your great people you work with, and then there's some people that are there for the job and the money kind of thing. It's like any job. So sometimes you get somebody on a bad day, or they decide they don't like you for whatever freaking reason. Like there's been a few instances where people are just flat out rude. It's like, why? I've been really nice. I don't get this. But I won't say what companies, obviously, but there's been a few times where it's like nothing's getting anywhere and people are being really rude and it makes no sense. I get somebody being super nice at the same place while the other person's totally rude. I've had people uh had people talk down to us and then realize that we were right about what we were talking about and then going, oh, I'm wrong, hold on. It's like you're 100% rude right there, man. No apologies ever. That's the one thing I've noticed working on this game. Nobody's ever admitted when they're wrong and things like that. And no matter like my guys or those guys over there, whatever, it's always like, oh yeah, I don't know, kind of thing. It's like, what? You just say, whoops, my mistake. Never once, I don't think. Well, I do have one guy I love. He's really great.
Well,
Actually, two.
unfortunately, that's kind of when
Yeah.
you deal with people. You never know. But at least they've
So,
been supportive of you, since you have the games on the system at least.
oh yeah. So, uh, I don't know if I have a favorite I work with though. I get along with most of them, so I kind of like just working with all of them. With Steam, you don't work with anybody ever. It's just like pay some money, put your stuff up. Somebody might email you about uh, getting approved, and that's it. So that's just weird.
That
So
is
hands off, very hands off.
well,
We're
that kind of sucks. I think the human interaction is the important part.
mm,
I'm glad at least the big three are doing that. So you have Insanity Blade done, a possible remake in the future. You have Battle Princess Madelyn done. Uh, what's next? Where are we going from here?
Let's
What
see.
can you say?
Uh, I have a game I started working on while we were doing Insanity's Blade. Because at one point there was a major flaw in the engine we were using for Insanity's Blade where it would the editor would crash because we had too many objects. And it was blamed on Windows for having a limit, but it was because this program we used would cache all of the icons for everything triple. So it was wasting all of the resources for icons, like huge. It was insane. So the engine would crash. So there's like 2 weeks we were waiting for a solution for the engine because I lost 2 levels of the game I had designed in the program. Like I lost a bunch of sprite work. I lost a whole bunch of code. And so I had 2 weeks. And I'm like, while I'm waiting, I'm going to do this. So I started on another game uh, starring Maddie and her toys, it's very Bubble Bobble like, maybe Snow Brothers even. So I wrote an engine, split screen co-op, super addictive, and then I just left it. It's like, this is really awesome, and I'm gonna go finish Insanity's Blade now and then go get a job somewhere. So anyway, so this game that's coming up, I've decided to go back and finish the other game I was doing because I really liked it. I don't know why I walked away from it. It was fun. Like every time you pick up the controllers, especially the co-op split screen part, it's so fun. And I'm like, why did I walk away from that again? I can't remember. The engine works. Like the code's basically done already. It was just programming AI and doing graphics, getting some real music in there and stuff like that. Like that was like 2013. I finished the prototype, and there's an older video of it on YouTube with placeholder graphics. And I get so many questions like, why didn't you finish that? I don't know, don't remember. So that's probably what's next. And I've got other things, like I've got a ton of designs kicking around for other games I wanted to do, but I think I really want to get this one done because I like playing it a lot. It's one of my favorite game styles, like that, like the short burst scene, like the way Bubble Bobble set up. It's like you get a screen. Ours isn't like that. You get like a bigger map to work around on. That's why we have the split screen and stuff. So yeah, I just like that. It's the quick satisfaction kind of game. Oh, I beat that stage. I'm already in level 10. Look at the boss, and the pace keeps bumping up a little bit, and things get a little more hectic as the game goes on, and new enemies with new moves, new boss, and it just keeps going like that. So I'm aiming for around 100 stages, and I had the original 20 almost finished already in the 2 weeks. So yeah, I think I know I redid the boss, the first boss. I redid all the artwork for that. But I'm going to go back and actually do proper artwork for the entire thing now and clean it all up and just move forward with it. So anybody who's been following the Kickstarter, like my partner left the company back in May, so it's only been me and I have another guy that helps me with console stuff, and I have another designer that came on to help. So the company shifted a lot. It's back to me doing the code, which is fine by me. So we're going to focus on this game right now. I meant to like take a break until October. Of course, I was talking to you earlier. Next thing I knew, I'm like, oh, I got it open. I got to work on it right now. So I'm addicted to working on games, unfortunately. So I've already started. I went in. I was talking to you for 5 minutes about it, and like you heard, I'm like, oh, the one of the updates broke, collisions on this, and I'm like, oh, I know how to fix that, and I had it fixed in like 2 seconds, and went back in, tested it, worked. So Yeah,
Hey,
the
you know what?
engine's in good shape still. That was the only bug after like 5 years of this program, 6 years or whatever, like getting updates. It broke only one thing broke, so that's pretty impressive. I guess I didn't use plugins or anything, so ended up it ended up being okay.
You know what they say, you got to strike when the iron's hot. So if you're
Mhm.
feeling the passion to work on it,
Oh
do the
yeah,
work now and take a break after.
I've been feeling it since last year. It's like I just want to work on that game again. I liked it, and I mean after like working on Battle Princess Madelyn for almost 5 years. Because originally my partner was still fixing bugs in Insanity's Blade after it came out, and it was just me and Maddie working on the prototype. So that's almost a whole year, or it was just me working on that. So I always have that extra year on top of everybody. Like I did all the main artwork and everything already for Maddie and stuff like that. So um, it's been almost 5 years, I think, since I started that, hasn't it? Like Maddie's turning 9. She would have been, no, 8. No, it's been 4 years. That doesn't sound right. I thought it was 5. I'm gonna have
You
to go.
lost a year somewhere.
I don't know. I've lost something. My marbles from that
Do you
sleepover.
and since Manny did, so much of the artwork on Battle Princess Madeline, is she gonna help you in this new game with new artwork? We're gonna see new
Uh,
creations from Maddie.
yeah, she's going to be. I was just upstairs talking to her before the call. Uh, I went up and I'm like, "You want to draw some pictures for me, or do you want to sit with me and like work on the new game, make up some monsters for me?" And she's yeah. And my youngest daughter, she's just about to turn 3 in October. Talks okay now. She wants to draw too. What was it she said? I can't remember what she said. And I was like, she wants to do monsters or something, or I think she heard something about dinosaurs, so she wanted to draw dinosaurs or something. So sounds like they're both helping me this time.
That is
So
fantastic.
yeah. Good thing about this is they're both in the new game. The original one, it was Maddie and her toys, and now I'm redrawing everything. I'm like, okay, so it's gonna be Maddie player 1, Sophia player 2, and then we'll have like maybe one of their pets or something as play like other optional characters you can play as or something like that. I had it set up for 4 characters, but the main two are Maddie and Sophia. Um, I could probably get them to do their own voices in this game because they're little kids in this game. I don't
That'd
know
be
about
so
Sophia. She might be a little too small. There's like a
um,
big enough
grunts.
gig yet,
Ever
but
talk
I
of
think
just grunts and stuff, like gaga, gaga, like just some baby gibberish, and that'd be the charm of the character.
well she talks pretty good. Like I can just get her to say Maddie's name or something like that, but it's the speech impediments there. So I can make her a little like a smaller, cuter character.
I think that'd be
So it's
great.
okay. We'll see how it goes.
I love
But
that idea.
yeah, really looking forward to getting that one going too. So I'll probably start sharing screenshots of that in another couple of months because I want to get everything polished for the entire first level. So the first 20 stages will be done. So yeah,
Oh
that should be
man,
fun.
I'm looking forward to playing that. Now, with Battle Princess Madeline, you actually worked with Limited Run Games to be able to get a physical out there. We're
Mhm.
gonna see the same thing with this new one. Are we gonna keep that physical trend going?
I hope so.
I hope so too.
I haven't talked to them about it yet. Like it's this one's really up in the air right now. Like nobody's really seen it yet, except for the old video that's online. So I when it comes to pitching stuff, I'd rather have something so horribly polished before like I want it really good before I start showing it, kind of thing. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't remember if I've even talked to them about it.
Oh,
My memory's getting worse from the no sleep thing there for the
oh no.
2
Well,
years. It's
hopefully
like,
you
I
guys
know
can hopefully you guys can work out something because I'd love to just put it right next to Battle Princess on the shelf
hmm
and have them there
Yeah.
because this,
I,
this
I
the journey of
love
Madeline.
love the Switch physicals. Like I don't always buy the game's physical edition because sometimes I just wanted to play. when I turn my Switch on. I don't want to go find a cartridge for it, but I I'm really old and I love cartridges still. So despite the fact that they're microscopic compared to everything I've ever had in my life, I still like the feel of it, like putting the game in to play it, take it over to somebody else's house and play it kind of thing. Not that that ever happens at my age either, but you know what I mean. Like my when it comes to Maddie, she has her own Switch. So if you have a cartridge, she can just like take it and go play it kind of thing, which she does with a lot of my games. If she wants to try something new, she'll just like I have like Mario Kart or whatever. I think I ended up getting we both have Splatoon 2 and stuff like that. Like anything where she actually likes it, I ended up getting the second physical copy for her because she likes the cartridges as well.
Nice, raising her right. That is awesome. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. For anyone listening and is curious about Chris's work, you can go to causalbitgames.com for more information. Insanity's Blade is out on Steam. Battle Princess Madelyn is out on virtually everything, including the Switch eShop. I highly, highly, highly recommend you download it. It is a fantastic, fantastic game. Chris, thank you again so much for joining me today.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, for everybody else, stay tuned for NintendoFuse.com for all your Nintendo news, as well as our YouTube channel for videos like this, more industry talks, our podcast, and a bunch of other content. And please check out our Discord. You can get the Discord link at NintendoFuse.com or on our YouTube videos. Chris here is also a member of it. We've got a bunch of other game developers as well as gaming fans. So please check us out, help us build a community. Thank you again for watching. Have a great day and take care.